Today, this will be the video lecture concerning our module about special topics in science, technology, and society. So I've decided to break it down into each lesson so that it's not going to be one whole long video. Okay, so this will be cut into different parts for the lesson, but all of them will be containing the Easter egg hunt that you need to accomplish so that I know whether you are watching the video lecture or not. Okay, so let's start. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to distinguish the positive and negative aspects of the effects of AI and robotics, biotechnology, biodiversity, climate crisis, and space travel. Argue on the ethical concerns and workarounds or solutions pertaining to the effects of the said fields a while ago, and propose innovative solutions to current societal issues derived from science and technology concepts. So, why are they called special topics? So, if you're going to refer to other books about STS, sabog-sabog, actual separate lessons sila, sabog-sabog yun. May nanotechnology, may biotechnology, may biodiversity. So, collectively, you call them as special topics because these are emerging topics in the field of science and technology that directly impact, yung iba nga, hindi na emerging, it's already there, but they directly impact your future professions. Okay? If not your professions, your future lives. So, dapat meron kayong knowledge about these things so that when push comes to shove, you'll be able to respond accordingly. Okay? You'll be able to have your own thought. Okay, ito yung natutunan ko, so most likely ito yung dapat gawin regarding this concept. That's why they are called special topics. And the first special topic that we're going to cover pertains to biotechnology. Okay, so biotechnology, what is it? It is the utilization, the utilization of living organisms or biological systems in advancing tools in the form of technology. Aside from advancing tools in modifying or changing or improving what is already biologically there in the world. So, minsan kailangan nating mag-intervene with what's happening around us so that we can make it beneficial for us or make the situation beneficial for us or for the entire world. So that's why we tweak a little, okay, the biotechnological side of things, and I'll point more of this later as we move along. Okay, so this is the first Easter egg hunt clue that I'm going to give you. Please take note of this. 3, 2, 1, next. So under the realm of biotechnology, this includes genetically modified organisms and gene therapy and nanotechnology. So i-cover natin yon under ng biotechnology collectively. So unahin natin yung GMOs or genetically modified organisms. Sila ay mga organism na merong alterations o pagbabago sa kanilang genes. Genes being the basis of how you're going to look like and how you're going to function. Kapag binago mo yung iyong genes which contains your DNA, pag binago mo yung iyong genes, it will have an effect to your anatomy and physiology. This is a concept known as genetic engineering. So, pag merong isang organism na may kakaiba sa kanyang genetic material, may binago through genetic engineering, it's called as a genetically modified organism. So, there's another term, a living modified organism. So, ang living modified organism ay may cross-species genetic material na in-integrate sa kanila. So, ibig sabihin ganito, mas malaki yung umbrella ng GMO kaysa LMO. Ang GMO, ganito yan. Halimbawa, ikaw, meron kang isang aso gusto mong magkaroon siya ng mahaba at curly na balahibo. So, ang ginawa mo, pina-genetically engineer mo yung kanyang DNA para magkaroon siya ng ganoong characteristics. So that is a genetically modified organism. Your dog has now become a genetically modified organism. Okay, but here's the thing. It is still within the gene pool of dogs, that characteristic that you placed in your dog. Okay? Ang ginawa mo, na humanap ka ng aso na may genetic code na long and wavy or curly fur coat, and then you've integrated that into the genes of your dog to make that characteristic appear. So, paano kung gusto mo naman gawing glow in the dark yung aso mo? Pwede mo siyang gawin, kidding aside, just like what you're seeing here currently in living modified organisms shown on screen. Ang difference lang is, hindi ka makakita ng genes sa gene pool ng dogs na para sa bioluminescence. Okay? Or yun nga, yung pagiging glow in the dark. So anong gagawin? Maghahanap ka ng animal, maghahanap ka ng creature or organism na merong ganoon. And turns out, in jellyfish, there is a bioluminescent gene. You get that gene integrated in your dog and boom, you have now a glow in the dark dog. So that's how it works. Okay? Yun yung difference nila. Now your dog is a living modified organism because there is an interspecies, okay, a cross-species characteristic. Now, paano ginagawa yung mga GMO? Ito yung step-by-step process. You need to isolate and extract the DNA that you want to integrate or the gene that you would like to integrate to another organism. And then you clone that. You make copies of that extracted DNA. Afterwards, you're going to start the gene modification. So meaning you're going to integrate it now with the specimen that you would like to have that characteristic. And then transformation will happen slowly. The cells of the organism that received the genetically modified trait will then, the genetic modification rather, will then adapt to this new code. Okay, and as this code is, altering slowly the target specimen, it will slowly show the characteristic little by little. Pero kung gusto mong mas ma-improve yan, gusto mong magkaroon pa ng further iterations yan, you do what is known as back cross breeding. Ano yung back cross breeding? Maghahanap ka ng organism na may halos kapareho na ng characteristic, and then i-attempt mo siyang i-breed doon sa organism na minodify mo yung genes. So there might be a chance that there's an alteration of their genes resulting to your desired result. Okay? So ito yung konsepto ng genetic modification. And we've been doing genetic modification since early in human history. Yung corn, hindi talaga yan kulay dilaw lahat. Iba-iba yung bawat kernel nun, or may difference yung kernel nila. And you can still see this in corn cobs nowadays, especially the poor quality ones, quote unquote. They are more natural. Yung fully golden yellow na kulay na nakikita natin, genetic modification na yun. But it's not because of genetic engineering. It's more likely due to breeding. Okay? So itong breeding na ito, ang ginagawa, binibreed yung merong characteristic na gusto doon sa almost may ganong characteristic. So ito yung tinatawag party na back cross breeding. Yung output nun ay ibabalik mo at ipapag-mate mo ulit para makagawa ng mas favorable para sa iyo na characteristic. It's just that with this process now, it involves genetic engineering. Okay? So some of the benefits of genetically modified organisms can be seen here. I won't read them all. But of course, GMOs have their own benefits, mostly related to how allergens affect us, so or the resilience of that type of food, or it's just for, ayun nga, katulad sa corn, pleasing to the eye siya. Okay? Or sometimes less of a hassle to eat, like seedless fruits as well. So that's benefits from GMOs. Next. This is your next clue for the Easter egg hunt. Take note. Now, syempre, doon sa mga benefits na nabanggit kanina, meron niyang katumbas na uh, penalties. Okay? Meron niyang katumbas na disadvantages. Now, as we go along, these people who have ill intent might do illegal things regarding GMO. At ang delikado kasi dito, pag nakawala yung genetically modified organism into the wild, it will affect the gene pool. It might affect the gene pool of the organism. So, ito'y tumatawid na rin sa gene therapy, no? Kasi here's the general rule. Kapag ka fully formed na yung isang organism, kapag ka nabuo na yung genetic code niya, tapos doon mo binago yung kanyang genetic code, hindi niya na mapapasa sa next offspring yon. Okay? But with gene therapy, quote-unquote, or kung ganitong paraan mo minodify yung aso. 'Di ba yung kanina, meron ka ng aso, nilagyan mo ng glow in the dark gene, naging glow in the dark siya. Pero kung simulat sa pool, gusto mo, okay, gusto ko ng aso na glow in the dark. Wala ka pang aso, so gagawa pa lang sila ng new dog. So, ang gagawin dito, ang babaguhin ay yung gametes or yung sex cells, the sperm cell and egg cell or egg cell of the parents. Yun yung babaguhin yung genetic code. Okay? Yun yung i-modify. Tapos once those two gametes meet, they're going to generate an offspring that can transfer the characteristic to the next generation. Kasi after fertilization, hindi na magkakaroon ng chance para baguhin pa yung DNA. Mababago yung anatomy and physiology, pero it's not transferable to the next generation. Kasi yung gametes mo ay magpo-produce pa rin ng original DNA code mo. Okay? So magbabago lang ito kung bago pa yung fertilization, may binago na doon sa genetic code of either the sperm or the egg. Okay? So pag nangyari yun, pag nag-reproduce sila, pwede silang makagawa ng almost the same characteristic dun sa kanila. That's where back cross breeding comes into play. Imagine this, yung aso mo, ganun yung pinagawa mo. Instead na malaki na yung aso, tapos pinalagyan mo ng glow in the dark gene, bago pa lang nagkaroon ka ng tuta, bago pa lang ma-conceive bago pa lang ma-create yung dog, pinabago ka na sa genes, pina-insert mo na yung glow in the dark gene, and then once the fertilization happens, the dog that's going to be born out of it is now a genetically modified dog, a living modified dog, actually because the characteristics is not in their gene pool. So a living modified dog that is glow in the dark, that can reproduce. Pag iyong aso na yun ay nakawala, that is problematic. Ito ay glow in the dark lang. Mainam pa ngayon. Naglipa na naman yung aso dito sa Pilipinas. Di pagkagabi, tapos may glow in the dark dogs na nagparami, at least maliwanag sa kalsada. Okay? Look at the bright side. Kumbaga. Pero ang point pa rin dito, paano kung may ibang characteristics na mapasa? Like for example, the seedless grapes or the seedless fruits and vegetables. Benefit sa atin yun kasi pag kinakain natin, okay, wala nang buto. Pero kung ang pag-uusapan natin ay yung reproduction ng mga plants na ito, kung isang genetically modified na plant na seedless ang nakawala, hindi naman siya tatakbo, pero ang point, nakapag-release ng spores or may bee na dumapo doon at nadala yung pollen niya somewhere else, yung mga nasa labas na fruits na hindi naman seedless, magkakaroon ng integration ng seedless gene. Paano kung dumating yung point na wala nang may non-seedless gene, naubos na sila, kaka-reproduce nila? So it will be problematic, which is why people have brought forth together a protocol or a rule which manages genetically modified organism, and that is the Cartagena Protocol. So international rule set ito in handling genetically modified organisms, which take note of what is known as an advance informed agreement, basically a letter that people will send whenever a communicatory letter that will be sent to countries that might be taking a GMO. So required siya. Okay, required siya. So ayan yung advance informed agreement, as I mentioned, it's a letter that's being sent so that the other country can reject or have an option. Kasi baka mamaya wala silang facility to contain the GMO. So this is the next part of your Easter egg hunt. So yun nga, apart from the various issues that might arise from mishandled genetically modified organisms, collectively, maraming advantages and disadvantages itong GMO. And we're already experiencing them now. We already are in a world of GMO. It just happens that there are people that are utilizing it for ill intent. So doon nagkakaroon ng problema yung mga may ill intent ng mga tao. Okay? So it transcends into the next biotechnology related topic, which is gene therapy. So nabanggit ko na kanina kung paano gumagana yung gene therapy. Basically, ito ay pagbabago sa genetic code para magkaroon ng sakit. Yung GMO kanina, ang focus niya ay non-human organisms. Pero yung gene therapy, on the other hand, it's focusing on human changes, okay, in the genetic code in favor of, say, for example, relieving a person from a disease that is genetically linked. If you're familiar with the concept, or if you're familiar with hemophilia, it's the bleeder's disease. Kahit na isang paper cut lang ang nangyari sa isang tao na may hemophilia, they can bleed to death, essentially. Maubusan sila ng dugo kasi wala silang proper clotting factors, hindi namumuo yung dugo nila pag may sugat. So, ang resulta, pwede silang maubusan ng dugo unless properly, unless they are attended to by a physician that can put coagulants in their blood. Anyway, that can be put a solution with. Yung mga taong may hemophilia, pwede silang matanggal na ng hemophilia once they undergo gene therapy. So gene therapy is something that is very experimental in the current state of affairs, and it requires a lot of permit because this is human experimentation, and essentially this is beneficial, but it has its risks. So ang ginagawa natin dito, kumukuha ng vector. Yung vector na yon, isa siyang virus capsule. Ibig sabihin, siya yung lalagyan lang ng virus. Wala siyang DNA ng virus, so hindi ka magkakasakit doon. Ang ginagawa nila, nilalagay nila sa loob yung gene na kailangang i-proliferate sa katawan, yung corrected gene. So, halimbawa, yung corrected gene against hemophilia. So, ilalagay nila yon sa isang tinatawag na viral vector. Okay? So, huwag matakot kasi ang paraan ng pag-proliferate ng mga virus ay nagpaparami sila gamit ang mga cells. So nag-integrate sila ng DNA nila sa cell, tapos yung cell na yon ang magpapakalat ng sakit. That's how they spread a disease. Now, we remove the viral content of a virus and we replace it with the vector. Okay? It's a copy of we replace it with the DNA that we would want to be proliferated in the body. So kada yung i-integrate na DNA nung virus doon sa cell ay yung corrected DNA. So it will replace the DNA of the cell that's going to receive it. So kapag gusto ng mas direkta na involvement or change in the vector, we can utilize what is known as a retrovirus. So para diretso na dun sa genetic code in the chromosome, or sa adenovirus, para lang sa nucleus lang muna siya ilalagay sa area ng nucleus and will travel on its own. Pero either way, this will be introduced intravenously or through IV or cell extraction. Kung sabihin na cell extraction, kukuha ng sample cell sa'yo, tapos yun yung i-infect ng viral vector, tapos ibabalik sa'yo yung cell na yon. Or just IV will do. So ito na yung magpapakalat ng tamang gene. Now, once the corrected genes have been introduced to the person, they ensure that they ensure that the next generation is going to be sorry, once the viral vector is introduced to the person, it ensures that this person that initially had hemophilia will now be treated. Okay? Mataas na yung chances na mawawala na yung hemophilia niya kasi nako-correct na yung cells niya dun sa corrected gene. However, ibig sabihin nito kapag nakahanap ng partner itong may hemophilia na to na gumaling through gene therapy at mate doon sa partner na yon para makagawa ng offspring, there's still a chance for the offspring to have hemophilia. Kasi again, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, kung gene therapy ang pag-uusapan, kung genetic modification ang pag-uusapan, kung gusto mo na maipasa yon sa next generation, you should undergo gene therapy. Which type of gene therapy? Germline gene therapy. So yun. Ang babaguhin ay yung gamete DNA ng parents para yung corrected genes ang magpe-fertilize at yung after that fertilization, it will create an offspring which do not have a history of that disease anymore because it's effectively changed and corrected, and they can transfer it to the next generation. That's what germline gene therapy is. That's what's going to bring the current corrected gene to the next generation as long as this change happens before fertilization. Ayun nga, kung malaki na yung may hemophilia tapos pinagaling through gene therapy at nakipag-mate siya, nagkaroon siya ng offspring, yung offspring niya na yun most likely ay meron pa rin chance na magkaroon ng hemophilia. Unless bago ng fertilization, pinakorect niya yung genes niya sa kanyang sperm, sa kanyang gamete, or sa kanyang egg, sa kanyang gamete, before it was introduced for reproduction, in particular for fertilization. Okay? Next. Clue for your Easter egg hunt, please take note. So, is gene therapy safe? In a sense, yes, it is safe. However, there are some observed health risks to patients that have been undergoing gene therapy. So, of course, there is success rates. Merong successful gene therapy na talagang walang halos nagiging epekto, pero meron din na merong epekto doon sa mismong patient. It causes toxicity of the cell, meaning that the body is essentially becoming toxic for itself. Therefore, it might lead into complications, inflammation, pamamaga ng mga areas na anomalous sa pamamaga ng mga areas na merong corrected cells, and what sadly is cancer. Okay, so pwedeng magresulta sa cancer ang gene therapy kapag hindi properly handled or depending on the person's capacity. Okay? Pwede rin kasi nakadepende sa personal capacity ng person kung kakayanin niya mag-survive. So sa health, essentially, overall health ng body ng person na naka-receive ng gene therapy. Kung magkaka-cancer ba siya or hindi. So maraming agencies ang nag-i-ensure na bago gawin ang isang experiment on gene therapy sa isang tao, sa kanila muna ipapa-approve ito. At ito yung mga institutions na yun. At least this is in America. We don't have these yet in the Philippines. Pero meron tayong mga rule set na sinusunod in doing human-related experimentations, especially for the field of medicine. It has ethical concerns, gene therapy, obviously, because these questions might pop up regarding who are supposed to have gene therapy. So, una sa lahat, paano natin masasabi na kung alin ang good gene, alin ang bad gene? Okay? How can we ensure that happening? Remember, in the concept of evolution, organisms evolve through the characteristics that they have that suit the environment. Paano kung yung magpapabago pala ng kanilang genes ay yung next na origin point ng human species because of a characteristic that they want to be removed. Pero dahil pinatanggal nila, nawala na yung chance ng humans to survive. So again, which is a good gene and which is a bad gene? Next. who will be the decision makers on what's the trait that's going to be considered as normal? What's the trait that is a disability or disorder? Ngayon pa nga lang, hindi natin ma-settle kung ano ang magpapa-equal sa ating lahat. May kani-kanyang konsepto na ano ba talaga ang equality. Paano pa pag nagkaroon na ng ganitong concept ng gene therapy? Okay? Just like with any other health-related service, kung yung mas mayaman lang ba ang may karapatan sa gene therapy kasi mas may pera sila kasi for sure magiging mahal to. Now, those people who are not the same as the majority of the crowd will most likely be isolated in this future society wherein gene therapy is allowed. Kasi nga, anong mangyayari dito? Ma-isolate sila dahil merong hindi nasa normal range from them and they will be asked to change to gene therapy. Pero yun nga, gaya na sabi ko kanina, sino ba magde-decide ng rule set na yun na alin ang normal, alin ang hindi? Alin ang anomalous, alin ang hindi? Excuse me. And people cannot appreciate themselves anymore because they might think na hindi pala wala ako sa normal range, so they will depreciate their value. So another thing, pwede bang gamitin yung gene therapy sa pag-enhance ng muscle mass ng isang boksingero, pag-enhance ng leg muscles ng isang track and field runner? So that might be a concern that might arise. And again, there's no clear right or wrong answers here. It depends on who you ask. And that's what brings danger in the concept of gene therapy and GMO. Baka mamaya may iba yung pag-iisip. Baka mamaya may iba na, okay, ganito yung gagawin ko para makipag-benefit sa akin. So, it's something that is beneficial to them. If people are thinking on doing things only that is beneficial to them, then it's something that's problematic in the concept of gene therapy. Next part of your Easter egg hunt, please take note. Next. Isa pang concern. Those children, okay, these would be children that in the concept of germline gene therapy are designer babies and already. So, gusto mo na yung anak mo matangos yung ilong, gusto mo wide-eyed siya, gusto mo or singkit siya, or may ganitong specs ng cheeks, ng face, ng head. You can do that with germline gene therapy, partly. But the thing is, would that be ethically sound? Ibig sabihin, walang choice yung bata walang choice yung bata walang choice yung bata in the decision that you're making. Okay? Wala siyang choice doon sa konsepto ng gusto mong mangyari. Paano kung gusto niya ng hindi matangos na ilong? Okay? Paano niya kung gusto dark yung kanyang skin tone? So it didn't give them a choice. And I know that life itself didn't give them a choice on what characteristics they're going to have. But applying that you can, okay, pwede pala natin baguhin, they might have that thinking now na, pwede naman akong baguhin, so bago na lang ako. It devalues what makes you unique now already. Next is nanotechnology, and these are the applications of science and technology under the nanometer scale. So sabihin, it's very small things, and these very small things range from a billionth of a meter. So that's 0 followed by 9 zeros and the 1. That is a 1 billion mark. So kaya lang kabaliktaran kasi mapaliit siya. So a billion. So given 0.000. Okay. Now, what's the importance of nanotechnology? You might think that nanotechnology is the one technology that's the same with Tony Stark's suit here in this particular scene. That is an advanced form of nanotechnology. But going back Okay, going back, there are primitive or earlier iterations of nanotechnology which are not as advanced as this, but still they are nanotechnology. The next part of your Easter egg hunt. But there are four generations according to Mike Rocho's framework of nanotechnology. Meron tayong passive active systems of nanosystems and molecular nanosystems. So, yung case ni Tony Stark, yung suit niya, nandun na siya sa lower end, sa molecular nanosystem, at least the concept of that. Pero yung passive nanostructures, essentially, ito ay nandoon sa paligid natin, pero hindi siya totally, wala siyang active participation. So for example, yung aerosol, yung ginagamit as propellant in spray cans, that is an example of a nanotechnology. Along with some other examples like metals that are mixed with nanotechnology. So these things are these nanostructures are already there since early in human civilization. Okay? So hindi naman sobrang early, syempre nandun pa rin sa konsepto na malapit-lapit na sa modern times. So early in the modern times. Pala. So later down the line, they have created active nanostructures. So these active nanostructures are taking more of an active role in the process where they are involved. So for example, yung active nanostructure ay may kinalaman sa drugs na may targeted or specific na nerve ending or neurotransmitter na pinapalitan or may specific organ na tina-target in general. So that is what makes it as a systems of makes it as an active nanostructure. Okay? So nagkakaroon na ng moving parts. So ano naman yung systems of nanosystems? So these are multiple moving parts that are bound together in a nanometer scale, which then collectively does something. And then the molecular nanosystems, it pertains to molecular technology. So ibig sabihin, ito ay sobrang liit na at hindi na technically observable with the naked eye, but still, it has functions, okay, as a nanosystem. So ano na yung mga examples na ng nanotechnology na meron tayo? So nano whiskers, preventing staining, nanocrystals para naman sa UV. So ito yung nilalagay natin kapag may sunblock tayo, may nanomaterials yun. Nano coatings is preventing from scratches like Teflon is an example of a nano coating. So para maging non-stick yung inyong pan. Nanotubes are utilized for delivering specific target, delivering specific medication for in the nanoscale for certain organs. So pwedeng ganun siya. But overall, these materials are smaller. Okay? 1 billion times smaller than 1 meter. And that puts you into perspective kasi ano mangyayari pag nag-wash out itong mga to? Explain more later, but this is another piece of your Easter egg hunt clues. Next. Nanotechnology has improved in the form of nanobots. So these are working parts. So ayan, kung nakikita nyo dito yung isang nanobot na yan, it can help guide certain materials, like for example, sperm, or for example, the egg. It can guide them and it can guide itself towards the blood vessels so that it can be delivered as soon as possible. Okay? It can, sa blood vessels, pwedeng ilagay natin ito at para yung gamot na ibibigay mas ma-deliver ng mas maayos directly into the blood vessel. So those are benefits. But again, as I've said, there are still dangers of nanotechnology. And one of them ranges in the concept of bioaccumulation. Ano yung bioaccumulation? This is commonly observed in microplastic, but it's also going to be working in nanotechnology. Okay? Ang nangyayari, once a smaller organism is eaten by a larger organism, the accumulated content of its body in pertaining to nanotechnology is going to be, how will I put this? It's going to be accumulated, or it's going to be deposited, deposited inside of the body of who ate it. Halimbawa, yung seaweed, mayroon siyang isang microplastic, tapos may isang isda na kumain sa seaweed na yon. So it's going to be higher in microplastics. And then yung isda, may kakain doon na mas malaking isda, then it will take in the microplastics or the nanoparticles. And then, yung mas malaking isda na yung kakainin ng tao, tapos mapupunta na sa atin, na deposit na sa atin yung nanomaterial na nakain ng isang organism na maliit. So, biomagnification, okay, biomagnification is something that is problematic. Kasi ang nangyayari nga dito sa biomagnification, nag-accumulate sa mas malaking creature yung mga nanoparticles or microplastics. And it will stay there until the person dies or is being eaten by another organism. So that's the major danger of nanotechnology. Ayun, halimbawa, nagpahid ka ng sunblock, tapos mo nun, naligo ka, so saan mapupunta yung mga pinahid mong nanomaterials for your sunblock? The pipes, then eventually into the water, and then from the waters into the oceans, and from the oceans to plants that are living under the ocean. So yun. Next. Mas ibang danger ng nanotechnology ay tinatawag na gray goose scenario. So bakit siya gray goose scenario? Ito yung worst comes to worst. As you can see already, nanotechnology is being integrated with AI, with the robot that I have shown you a while ago. So the problem is if Terminator happens using nanotechnology, what if there's a rogue nanobot that can replicate itself, because they're trying to study that as well, that can replicate itself and is not visible to the naked eye, that goes rogue, hindi na siya na-control, nakawala siya, nakaalis siya. So this is going to be a crisis on Earth, because they can proliferate, and once they proliferate and take over nature, we do not have a resource, we do not have a home anymore. Okay? So yun ang nangyayari dito sa Gray Goose scenario. So mas sobra ng dami yung mga nanotech, to the point na kahit na hindi sila visible initially, magiging visible sila, and then after they become visible, it's going to be piling up a lot. Kasi nga nakakapag-reproduce siya on its own. So that's what they're trying to make, at least. So once that happens, it might reproduce too much on its own, and it might lead into the Gray Goose scenario wherein we're overrun by nanotechnology. So nanotechnology has its positive effects and negative effects. And just like with the other two biotechnology fields, it needs to be clear. Okay, it needs to be clear on what. A person needs to be clear on their intent on where they're going to use these technologies, because again, technology is neither good nor evil, it's neutral. And if it's neutral, it depends upon the user on when and where and what they're going to use those devices for. Okay, please take note that this is another clue for your Easter egg hunt. And that's where we end the topic about biotechnology for special topics in science, technology, and society. So please take note that I will be posting another video lecture concerning the other special topics. This is all for now. Thank you so much.